This week I have the privilege of reviewing the 2015 Range Rover Sport Autobiography Edition. This is the best-selling model in Range Rover's lineup, nestled just below the full-size Range Rover and above the Evoque. The Range Rover Sport is now in its second generation, and that restyled shape came out in 2014. For 2015, they added a super high-performance version, the SVR. Starting price on the 2015 Range Rover Sport is $63,350 for an SE, $68,295 for an HSE. Both of those models have a 3-liter supercharged V6. Next, you have the $79,995 supercharged, followed by the $92,495 Autobiography shown here, and the all-new $110,475 SVR. In the world of the Range Rover Sport, it's all about the engine size. So the base two models I mentioned have a 3-liter V6, which is more than capable for most vehicles. However, the V8 supercharged is really the way to go, with 510 horsepower and 461 pound-feet of torque. When SUVs first came onto the market, I don't think anyone expected them to also be high-performance vehicles, and that's exactly what this Range Rover Sport is. In fact, it was clocked on the Nürburgring at 8 minutes and 14 seconds. Not that impressed? Well, that's faster than a 1 Series M. That was a pretty fast car, and that is a much smaller vehicle. So imagine you can not only outrun a 1M on the Nürburgring, you can actually carry more people and their cargo. When you look at the competitors, there is plenty out there. BMW X5M, you have the Porsche Cayenne, of course, which is arguably the king of high performance, but let's not count out the ML63. So it's a great time to be in the market for one of these high performance vehicles. You no longer have to have a sports car and an SUV separate. You can have just one vehicle. That's why I've come to the conclusion that if I had $100,000 to spend and I had to drive that car and only that car for the next 4 or 5 years, this would be at the top of a very short list. You know, it's got plenty of utility, you can go through snow, but it's also very fast, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. Not that long ago, there were very few vehicles that could actually achieve that kind of performance. As with most Range Rovers, you're going to have certain design cues. Of course, the Range Rover logo spelled out right on the hood. You have the clamshell hood cover. Of course, there's all new lighting for the second generation Range Rover Sport. But if that doesn't do it for you, just take a step inside, and this is one of the nicest interiors I've seen. If there was one thing to complain about with this Range Rover Sport, it's the cargo area and overall the cargo capacity. So 27.7 cubic feet behind the second row and just over 62 cubic feet with the second row folded down. Now, that's less than the VW Golf Sport Wagon we just reviewed a few weeks ago. That's a pretty small vehicle. Hard to believe it has more cargo room than this large Range Rover Sport, but you can't deny the numbers. I know this doesn't seem possible, but every Range Rover model except the SVR has a third row option. It's clearly designed for very small people, but it is an option. A couple of things that separate the Range Rover Sport from its competition, including the Cayenne, in my opinion, is first of all the aluminum chassis. Basically everything on this vehicle is aluminum. The chassis is aluminum, the hood, the doors, the fenders. So they really reduced a lot of weight from the outgoing model. So as with every Range Rover, you have several modes to choose from. Automatic is good for just about anything, but if you want to, you can get into the grass, gravel, snow mode, mud and ruts, sand, and rock crawl. Now there's also dynamic, which is for, you know, aggressive highway driving or aggressive canyon carving. And that was 100 miles an hour, just like that. Now the 8-inch navigation screen is standard, and they've come a long way, but it's still kind of slow, and I hate to say it, by today's standards, it's a little bit small. Did I mention it makes a great growl? Well, it does. Every Range Rover Sport model gets a ZF 8-speed automatic transmission, which is one of the best in the industry. It's not a twin clutch, but it doesn't need to be. It shifts plenty fast. It's actually also somewhat fuel efficient for a vehicle of this size. And a combined 16. Of course, you're not going to get a combined 16 if you're driving it in sport mode like I just did, but you can get 16 combined, about 19 highway and 13 in the city. But overall, it's really hard to come up with a lot of complaints. I mentioned the cargo area, not the biggest. I struggled to put a mountain bike in here. Kind of ashamed to put a mountain bike, especially a dirty one, in a $98,000 SUV, but it can be done. And mentioned some of the electronics could probably use a little updating, but overall, how can you go wrong with it? I actually like this red interior. I think it's unique. It really stands out, and you're already making a statement by buying a Range Rover. Why not make a bigger statement and say, you know what, I got style too.